the OG, the first one, the one many of you probably grew up with, the one that started it all. That's right, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Star Wars, Nerds and Geeks, where we'll be talking about Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. So, A New Hope. Now, as always, we're going to be talking about the pros and the cons of A New Hope. Now, many of you are probably thinking, what? Cons? No. A New Hope? There's no cons in that. Well, my friend, may the Force be with you because you are dearly wrong. So, let's hop straight into the cons where I try to destroy your childhood. Just kidding, not really. Hope I don't. So yeah, like I said, A New Hope, it's a great movie, but that doesn't mean it's filled with problems. The first thing I wanted to talk about was Luke Skywalker. Now, when you think of Luke Skywalker, you think of a dashing, handsome young hero who's very brave and courageous and is always there to save the day. Well, that's not really the Luke we meet in Episode 4. The Luke we do meet in Episode 4 is a whiny young teenager who is very, as I said before, very whiny, complains all the time. Well, I was going to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. It's just very annoying, not great to listen to. I mean, who would ever think that this annoying brat would grow up to be the hero of the rebellion? I mean, it's not a good start for Luke. So next, before I talk about the next con, I want to say, I know it's an old movie, and I get that. You can get over a lot of the things that are old about it. But one thing I can't get over is the lightsabers. And I'm specifically talking about whenever they activate the lightsaber. Whenever they activate it for just a brief second, you can see like how the scenes like switch. It's not put together the best. I mean, it's very subtle, but it's just enough there to bother you. Maybe I'll be able to show you in this, or you can just rewatch Episode 4. But notice when they activate the lightsaber, for a brief moment you can just see everything just like shift. That was hard to watch. Speaking of lightsabers, lightsaber fight in A New Hope, yeah, that I would say is the worst lightsaber fight ever. It's so boring and slow. Like, two grandpas are fighting, which is exactly what's happening as a matter of fact. But it's still just so slow and boring. Not very exciting. Especially compared to the new lightsaber fights that we've seen. Like Episode 5 and Episode 6 had great lightsaber fights. Definitely better than Episode 4. And then when you watch 1, 2, and 3, those were very elaborate. Those give you like high expectations for lightsaber fights. And then 7, 8, and 9 also gave you good like choreographed lightsaber fights. So all of them just give you a much higher expectation for lightsaber fights, and Episode 4 does not deliver. So I'm not gonna trash this movie much longer, but I have one more con that kind of has two different parts to it. I believe the problem would be with the directing. See, in Episode 4, the acting, for one, isn't always the best. It's a lot of the stuff that people didn't like about Episode 2. Very over dramatic, non-realistic. I felt like Princess Leia a lot was very over dramatic and unrealistic, something that she wasn't in the other two movies. But yeah, I feel like Episode 4, all the all the dialogue had a lot of the same problems that episode two's dialogue did, which is something that I don't think a lot of people have pointed out. And second, of course, I wanted to talk about how nobody seemed to pronounce names right. First, Obi-Wan Kenobi at the beginning of the movie, he pronounced Alderaan more like Alderaan, which isn't as much of a problem. It's easily overlooked. But then a little bit later in the movie, this happens with, I believe, Grand Moff Tarkin and definitely with John Dodonna. They both call Princess Leia Princess Leia, and they do this multiple times, and I don't believe they ever correct themselves to Princess Leia. So yeah, people pronounce the names differently and non-accurately in the movie. So now we get to talk about all the good stuff. First, I wanted to talk about the action in this movie. The way the movie is set up, from the way that the scenes are put in, like the order of the scenes, to just the things that are happening in the scene, there isn't really a moment without action. It's generally nonstop action from the very beginning all the way up to the very end, except it's broken up by moments of dialogue and background and stuff like that. And that all makes it so that the movie flows really well, so that there's not too much action that's overwhelming, but it's still action packed, and it's really exciting to watch. Another thing I wanted to point out was, before this, first, sci-fi movies weren't very very respected before episode 4 came out, in general at least. And again, in general, sci-fi movies showed all alien civilizations as being way more advanced than our civilization, and everything being prim and proper and shiny. And George Lucas took a different approach on that, where in like Tatooine, everything's run down, everything's sandy, even everything is breaking, and even though it's futuristic, you still feel a connection to it. So George Lucas did a good job with that, making everything seem a whole lot homier than far away, as most sci-fi movies before this had done. That's funny, isn't it? It's all happening in a galaxy far, far away, but still manages to bring it close. So they did mess up Luke. They didn't make him the hero he becomes, but Han and Leia, they definitely did. Han, the joke boy, sarcastic guy, the outlaw, the smuggler, they did him really well. He was a incredible character. Everyone loved him. Then Princess Leia, remember, not Leia. They made her strong character, a stubborn character. She would not back down no matter what. They made her, that's exactly a character that she was. So yeah, Luke, he wasn't the character that he ended up being, but Han and Leia, they made them the people that they were supposed to be. Finally, I mean, as you know, all Star Wars movies have two different fights in them. They have the lightsaber fight between a Jedi and a Sith, two Jedis, whatever it is, there's always a lightsaber fight. And then all Star Wars movies also have a dogfight with starfighters. And though the lightsaber fight in this movie was not what we come to expect, the dogfight was really incredible. It was very well done. It's obvious that a lot of time and effort went into this, every moment of it, from the ships flying around to the pilot chatter to the intense parts to just the random cuts to the rebel headquarters or to Grand Moff Tarkin thinking, trying to figure out what to do. Yeah, every part of it. Darth Vader coming in. Every part of it was well done and made the dogfight an incredible one. So, surprisingly, that's all I have today. This video went about half as long as most of my other videos do, which is, or not as most of my others video do, as most of my other pros and cons episodes have, which I find kind of interesting. But the reason I think is because episode 4 was a great movie and we all love it, but it didn't have as many lowlights as a lot of the other Star Wars movies do, but it also didn't have as many highlights as most of the other Star Wars movies do. It's kind of in the middle there, and it's still a great movie. But yeah, there's not much to say about it, I think. Well, that's just about wraps up the movie, where we learn about the romantic tension, the love triangle between Luke, Leia, and Han, which nobody in 1977 knew, but that's not good. But anyways, that's it for today's episode of Star Wars Nerds and Geeks. There's a little teaser right here. I have a pretty awesome video that I'm working on. I don't know when it's going to be done. It's probably going to be like a whole year or something. I have to do a whole lot of research on it, but it's going to be a pretty incredible video, I think. I hope I'm not giving anyone like false hope or something, because there's a chance I'll never be able to publish it. But yeah, there's that video coming up, and then more pros and cons videos. We are halfway through everything. We just need to, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we have 5 more of these videos, then we'll be done with the pros and cons series. And then I have a few Legends topics I wanted to talk about. But for now, this is indeed Star Wars Nerds and Geeks signing off. See you next time.